Hello, welcome to my channel, Save Infinity. So in this video I just wanted to talk about like a little mini download I had once, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before in a way older video, but it's just such a great one that I felt like it's just good to share again. And so I once received like a download, a message, whatever you want to call it, about how humans are like still in the womb. We're like in the womb of creation, and how it's so funny because we as us humans feel like we're going around, we know so much about the world, and we have such a great solid idea of how things are and what everything is, when we're still actually just in the womb and we haven't even been born yet. Like, we have all these grand bold ideas about everything and about what we are and about what reality in the world is, and we haven't even been born into the real world yet, if you will. And so sweet and endearing to kind of think of us like that, still just like in the womb of creation, nestled away, and here we are thinking we're like the big wigs of town, and we're like haven't even been born yet. And so it's so cute as well to think of like different, say, UFOs in the sky, or things like that happening. It's almost like family members standing around and kind of poking the mama's belly, poking the pregnant belly, like, hello little baby. They're just like poop 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 poop, and we see like little UFOs or orbs of light or what have you, and that's just like our cosmic family out there in the bigger, brighter world we haven't been born into yet, just kind of stopping by like a little poop poop, hello little baby in the belly. I feel like it's such a cute and beautiful metaphor too, to think of it in that way, as I feel like so many sort of, I don't know what you'd call them, but like avenues and ideas that kind of go down that route of humanity kind of being locked away in its own little reality, or how we're like in the cave or what have you. A lot of those sort of metaphors and stuff like that can seem a little more like not so great, a little dark and depressing, or a little like, ooh, we've been locked away or something. But thinking of it in the way of like, we're just in the womb of of creation, we're in the womb of mama's belly, of mama earth's belly, is just such a sweeter, cuter way to think of it. It's not like we're locked away in a dark cave out of something nefarious. We're just in that dark, beautiful womb of creation, getting ready to be born into the bright world. And kind of makes a lot of sense too from those aspects of our galactic family or what have you, how we aren't kind of in direct open contact in that sort of way, because they're kind of in that outside world, if you will, and we're still in the womb, and so we're getting ready to be born into that bright big world where we'll be with all our cosmic brothers and sisters across the galactic universe. And it's like, as we're getting ready to be born, it's like that's why we're starting to have a few more visitations, or a bit more direct contact and things like that. It's almost like that's those early signs and symptoms of us being born into that brand new world, right? And I feel like it's also just a sweet kind of way to think of, humanity going through this sort of ascension sort of process, if you want to call it that, or awakening, or what have you, is like us, being birthed into that brand new world, into that next, kind of phase or level of existence. And not, having to be so frightened or stressed about it in that way of, we're not the first baby to be born, and that there's, a whole cosmic galactic family waiting there to, greet us and welcome us, and, help us kind of, find our way and find our feet. And so although, from the baby's perspective in the womb, it can be a bit, daunting, a bit dark, and, you don't know what awaits you on the outside when you, leave the mama's belly. But knowing that, everything will be okay. We can have, faith in that idea of, we aren't the first baby to be born, and all those that have been born before us are, they're waiting to greet us with open, loving arms. So yeah, I feel like such a cute and exciting download to have, right? Because it gives us so much more of the, the greater potentials of what we are here to experience and what we will experience along this journey of humanity evolving and finally being born. Really lets us know, that there's so much beyond our current, understanding of reality, of what there is for us to experience and embark upon. We're kind of limited to the reality of the womb, and when you're in a womb, you don't know what's going on in that big bright world out there, beyond the womb, and to try to even, conceive or understand would be a lot from the perspective of just being in that little dark womb reality. So to kind of think of it that way for us too, of, the sort of exciting adventure we'll get to embark upon the further that we, awaken and ascend and evolve in that sort of way. It's not like we've reached the top of the mountain or the tip of the iceberg yet, although sometimes, it feels like we know everything and we've discovered everything. There really is just so much more out there. So definitely, exciting times to be alive when, the baby finally does get birthed, if you will, when humanity finally is born, if you will. It's definitely an exciting adventure to be a part of and to embark on. All right, well, I'll leave this one here for now. Sending you so much peace, love, light, and blessings as always. Bye.